To be a country, you need an army, you need a currency, you need a national soccer team. Those were the words of Henry Kissinger, the famous former United States Secretary of State. His words, those words showed how important it is to have a national football team. And they also showed that a football team or a sports team brings a nation together. It brings identity, and it is very important in national building. So today, we can't see that sentiment come out with what is happening with the Palestinian football team. I am Musanjifu Benjamin Kavubu. Alongside me is Thomas Lesafe, my co-host. Welcome to the East African Perspective. Today we are going to try and dissect the political economy of sports in our region. We are going to talk about the very fabric that sports embodies in this region. And our discussion is going to lean towards the political economy of sports in East Africa. To unpack this intricate subject, we have a guest who has played sports, who has been a sports administrator in rugby, in basketball. He did sports at his bachelor's, something that is very rare in this country. And we would say, even if it is at an amateur level, he has been an athlete to the most top levels of this country. He has a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge. He will help us with these insights into how sports intertwines with class, with the economy, and with national ambitions, if any, and regional ambitions. So Mr. Zeno will help us confront the enduring colonial legacies. We will celebrate post-colonial triumphs in sports. We will examine the social stratifications that sports have brought about in the region. We will look at African 2027 and also Rwanda's quest or bid to host a Formula One event. We will see if these are visions that can be materialize, or they are budgetary constraints to the region. Ultimately, we want to, at the end of the day, we want to see if East Africa takes sports seriously, or it is something that will never be taken seriously, or will never really be an economy like we see elsewhere in the world. So I will welcome Thomas to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for yet new editions of the East African Perspective, that podcast where East Africa look at itself and look at the world, right? With the lens from here. We're in Kampala to discuss this political economy of sports, as you say. It is a topic that's fascinating. I'm really interested. A lot of people don't understand how sports is political. A lot of people think that sports is exercise, it's maybe even entertainment. It is not. It is definitely an economy. It is highly political, and we will see also towards looking at the history of the emergence of what we can call modern sports, as how political it has been in the region and everywhere else. I'm really happy to have Zeno Othieno Owora with us today. Thank you so much for joining us in this set. I think for preparing this show with him, he's an encyclopedia. It is quite amazing how many facts he has about East African sport from different disciplines: rugby, long run, football. So we are going to learn a lot today, and I'm really excited to be learning that much.
Yeah, I will ask our guest Zeno to introduce himself.
I'm Zeno Othieno Owora, not Owora Othieno. It's Othieno Owora.
Sankara.
Thomas, but I don't use that on my official documents.
Okay.
It's a very funny origin story to that name. But I love sports. I live for sports. My job, my full-time job, I'm a property manager and a realtor. But so much that people think I earn a living from sport. I can say clearly I've never earned a living from sport. I used to play sport. I played rugby, mainly at senior level. But at junior level, I was a gut of everything. At university, I represented chess, handball, and rugby for the university. At junior level, high school, more sports played. But I have a very deep love of sport. I'm the guy who watches under-9 boys play football.
Oh, wow.
At top level, I've coached. I've never coached in the Premier League. I've been with Bright Stars for a few days. UPL team. I full-time help run our local basketball team, Diamonds in the Sun. And most importantly now, I associate a lot with the apparel maker Komodo, which is a startup for my friend to make sports kits. And my first hit was a lucky strike. We struck silver. We were in the final of the Uganda Premier League rugby and kitting up the Ginger Hippos. And it's part of how my mind works, mainly around sports. It's very versatile and very studied about it. I'm very interested in the world of sport generally. The worldwide of sports. That's how Americans describe it on their TV. So yes, I do not know when this fascination came from, because my parents played.
Was it nurtured?
No, my parents played sport. My mother played netball to the top, because she's a very tall woman. But she never ever took me for a sports day. My father never played any sport. The closest he did, sport is the little brother of war. For him, he went to war instead.
We shall be getting into that.
But for sports, he really did a lot of encouraging. He's encouraging to us to do whatever we want, but he's long gone. So in a way, I do not know how I became very fascinated with sport.
He never came for sports days at school?
My father never went to school generally, to visit any of us. That was a waste of time. But I don't know how I became fascinated with sports. Given all my siblings are not, they're fascinated. My sister is fascinated with dance, and she's a very good dance instructor. And
it's a sport these days. It was at Olympics.
That's why they banned it immediately. They realized it was. So yes, that's what I can say. I'm fascinated, but it's not my day job. My day job has to do a lot with real estate.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. So before we dive into that topic, let's look briefly at what is happening in the region. What has happened in the past 7 days since we were last year? Thomas, what has caught your attention across the continent, around the East African region?
But I think what has caught my attention, especially since our last show, is that Niger has nationalized its uranium, right? So Niger uranium has been the main resources of that country, and now they nationalize it, which is a great step towards like economic sovereignty. The national is from the French. The French has been lighting the lights of Paris since at least the 50s. With uranium from Niger, right? So when you see image of Paris at night, image of the Eiffel Towers lighting, you think of the uranium of Niger. And for the very first time...
Which powers the nuclear plants that...
It's powered the nuclear plants that light the street of Paris. So it is quite significant in the dismantling of the neo-colonial apparatus that the French have established in West Africa and in their former colonies. So we are really happy to see that nationalization happening. We are looking at Senegal that might also do the same move with its petrol. We're waiting with its oil. We're waiting. But Niger nationalization of uranium was long due. This should have been done in the 60s or the 70s, like Arabia Saudi did or Libya did at the time of Gaddafi. Now it's done, and it's going to produce, I think, a lot for Nigeria.
So briefly, what else? Very briefly, what else is happening?
No, I think on the since last time we met, of course, we are looking at what's happening in Nairobi. 6 people were killed in protest. We call it them protests, or we call them demonstrations.
The word demonstrations.
What is sure is that Kenya is in a cycle of debt, and that cycle of debt is pushing a lot of people under pressure. So in one end, you have a government that wants to spend less money so it can pay back its debtors. And the other end, you have young people that have inflations, that front inflation. So the economic models bring the value of Kenyan workers and the value of Kenyan economy outside of Kenya, and Kenyans are left with inflations because of what is imported. So it is quite clear that the economic model doesn't work and that the youth are at the forefront. What I think is interesting is that those type of youth mobilization are not possible in other East African countries. Neither Ethiopia, Rwanda, or DRC can do such things. So it is also like a small laboratory of what, under the economic condition that we all living in East Africa, what democracy can bring or don't bring. And so far what we see is that it brings death to the youth and not so much change in the root of governance.
Okay, so I am going to ask you one more thing, but he will also come in at some point. I know he's here for sports, but it concerns everybody.
Yes.
In the region and the continent, Congo.
Yes.
There was a very big development in Congo. However much it happened off our continent.
I was amazed. We've been looking at the news since even our last show. We did say that something was cooking in Washington. We have to look at it. But when we saw what was cooking in Washington, it was amazing. It is quite clear that a fake peace deal has been signed in DRC, which mainly, it seems to me, and our host will tell us what he thinks, but it seems to me that America's interest in the rare minerals, right? America, remember that if he won the Second World War, it is because of its atomic bomb of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Even Trump spoke about it recently. All of that uranium used to come from Katanga, Congo, right? So it is quite clear that the US remember the strategic role of Congo and try to reinvest by doing these negotiations. But really what the negotiation gives is it gives Rwanda 3 months to clean up the FDLR rebels. And only after that, conversation would happen in Qatar about the M23 leaving Goma and Bukavu. So you have a full-on negotiation right now between Congo and Rwanda, led by the Americans, that do not touch the question of M23 and AFC, do not touch the question of withdrawing troops from Goma or withdrawing troops from Bukavu, and only touch the questions of how can DRC and Rwanda army kind of collaborate into the end of the FDLR, which we remind people are the groups that host the people that have organized the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. Yeah. So it is a clear priority for Rwanda. It is a legit priority, of course.
Of course it is legit.
It is totally legit, but the fact that the type of peace deal that have been made there doesn't seem to be really relevant. Tshisekedi looks for support in the West, so he's getting some support, security, but it's exactly what Kabila were doing also with the Zimbabweans back in the day. Just give people mining contracts, and you think like it's going to protect them.
They did protect him.
It is more complicated than that, but I do think my main point here is that Rwanda has get a lot from these negotiations, and I do think that the Trump administration has no clue of what's happening in Central Africa.
That is true.
They are being played right now by Rwandans and Congolese together in a dance in Washington where they've been played, and they claimed, even Donald Trump claimed that he won't get the Nobel Prize for that, but he wish he could. So we'll look at that really clearly. I don't know what you guys think of the situation.
I don't know. For me, it is just great power contestation. China had a deal, America has come for a deal.
Yeah.
Trump's advisor on the region, Ambassador Mossad Bollard, came and just to strike the deals to sort of counter China, and then they go to the Lupito corridor, all those deals went for America. And now they want a proper deal with the minerals.
Most of the mineral deals.
We are yet to get the details of what is in the deal, but we know very many players who are not at the table. We don't know what is going to happen to the refugees.
Correct.
We know how rife rape is in Congo. All that wasn't answered. So we are waiting to see what happens next on the ground, if anything happens. I don't know, Zeno, any comments on what is happening in the region, especially Congo?
Why are you putting me on the spot?
You are in the region.
But Thomas, just for clarity, Kenyan youth are not the first to demonstrate. The Emperor Selassie left because of protests by the youth to form the DEG. Mengistu left Ethiopia again because of protests by the youth to form the TPLF and the Eritrea.
Meles.
Meles Zanawi because of protests. Kampala was overrun by rebels in 1986 who were youthful at
Very
that time.
youthful. Very youthful.
The army that marched onto Congo, that marched through Zaire, were not really youthful. They were child soldiers, but so the young people have really done.
All the young people have been to politics for a
in
long
'94, the people who stopped the Rwanda genocide were young.
They were young.
In name, when you look at SPLA,
No, young people have been in politics, but
In the region.
the point is to say that in terms of the way politics is expressed in Kenya is different from
because I have a more sense of history of Kenya than you do. You will have to go back and look at SONU, the Students' Union of Nairobi, started in University of Nairobi, Mwakenya, the Second Revolution, the Bearded Sisters. It's all youth at work.
2008.
1992. No, 2008.
To the Ocampo 8.
No, 2008 is just a watershed moment. It's a black swan event. It was never planned, pre-planned.
Anyway, today we are doing sports.
Yeah.
That is enough with the region, but it is what we do at the East African perspective. Zeno, to begin on our main subject today, could you take us back to pre-colonial East Africa? Some people think there were no sports in the region. People think sports were imported with colonialism, but we want to go back. What were the games? What were the games like? What were their purposes? For example, to prepare youth for adulthood. Can you take us back?
You know, that's like explaining nursery rhymes. I hate that part, but okay.
It is what we do here.
It's easy. I will be very biased towards Buganda because Buganda has a very documented history of participation, and I am Luo. We work in edge sets. So for us, we played in edge sets. We are River Lake people, straight from South Sudan, Bahr el Ghazal, down the Nile. We couldn't go up the Nile because of the Ottomans, but we went down the Nile till we settled finally in Kisumu at the lake, where River Lake Nilotes. So we do have a history of lake games, but for some reason we don't swim. But we do know how to use our boats, we know how to fish, and we know how to run. And for years we provided soldiers both to the Europeans, the Arabs, and to the court of Buganda. For various wars, you know, Buganda had an idea that they were so short, they would always be routed by the Banyoro and the Bachwezi because they were short. So one king went to Rwanda and kidnapped brides and to increase the height.
Height is very important in sport.
I don't know, we grow tall naturally, so I don't know about shortness, but so sport happened because people have to play and people have to stimulate themselves. So the Royal Regatta of Buganda has always happened in Munyonyo. There are sightings, the early writings of it happening, even before there was former colonial structures.
You could describe more.
Buganda is organized two ways. You're either by clan or by county, or a mixture of both.
Yeah, it is always a mixture.
Yeah. So you either represent your clan or your county. So that is how Buganda always organized almost all their social events, and that's how they organized sport. Because Buganda didn't have a standing army. So they focused more on letting people compete in games that are similar to war. Wrestling. You've heard
But wrestling is done, I think, all over the world. Each culture does.
Well, we do it differently. The Olympics have Greco-Roman.
Of course.
Of course, the commemorative games. You've heard of Murwanya Muri, fighting with reeds.
Yes.
There is a say that there was a prime minister of Uganda who suggested when spears ran out to use reeds. And so in commemoration, it became Murwanya Muri. So there are games committed to that aspect of his culture, fighting with reeds, Murwanya Muri. So you can see there has been an order, but there's never been a rank on this has been the strongest or the... Yes, but I'm sure that happened. There was a regatta and there were war games, games that look like war. So that one I can confirm. The rest,
So the main purpose of sport made before the arriving of the British and what they call themselves modern sports was mainly to train like good men for societies, men that would be useful at wars. And
Buganda had a disadvantage. For example, Kikuyu, Kalenjin have a circumcision ritual,
Yes.
first boarding school ritual, where they isolate men
Men for some time.
boys, and then they come back as men. That is the first boarding school culture. Buganda didn't have a boarding school culture. So for them, they had to breed warriors. And remember, Buganda is not a cattle keeping region. You see, nomads cause war everywhere.
Everywhere.
So Buganda don't have men for war.
For
So they have to prepare them continuously.
continuous
through
preparations.
sport.
Yes,
Through
because now
games.
for Karamoja, if you say war, even now we are ready.
Ready
We
to
go.
fight because it is sort of culture.
It is.
for
It
them.
is. It is.
It is part of them.
Yes, it's instinctual. So I think that's what I can explain about it.
About pre-colonial.
But you see, it's not that easy because it's not documented.
Yeah, it is not documented.
And in a world obsessed with facts, oral history tends to get lost.
But we do know that there were a lot of sport practice in the region, especially as you said on the lake and the rivers for boating, wrestling. But yet, when the settlers came and tried to occupy the land, right, what they really tried to do was to make value, make money outside of that land. And you don't make value outside of the land without workers. And those workers need to be performant, right? So one of the idea of colonialism was one of the way to reinforce imperialism in the region was to introduce what they call modern sports, right?
sports.
For the settlers, it was clear that when they introduced modern sports, and that has been done from Tata Rafael in Congo to Kenya, they will introduce discipline, colonial discipline and imperial discipline within the colonial subject. It is quite clear that it was not at all like this for people of East Africa. There were a lot of instances where sports were therefore become used in order to challenge the dominant authority, in order to challenge the colonial apparatus, right? Do you have such example for us?
So the colonial experiment in East Africa is quite interesting because I'll base on Uganda, Kenya, probably Tanganyika. In Uganda, in Buganda, the British founded schools. In Kenya, the British made schools. In Uganda, and sport here is intertwined with the social categorization. See, at 1900, the British distorted the whole atmosphere of Uganda. They created an elite from zero. So they came and formed this agreement that created a land baron system, a land tenure system that only existed in Buganda and in Tonga. And in that
The world.
in that tenure, not even in British, not even on their own homeland, they got people who were sympathetic to them, not people who were naturally leading, yes, and made them the new chiefs of the land.
Of the land.
Yes,
So now they had to show they were superior.
correct.
So one way, because they uniformly imposed Christianity, be it Catholicism or Protestant, and to a certain level also Islam. They allowed it to operate. They uniformly imposed on everyone across both Kenya and Uganda the religion. They could translate the Bible into the local language, they could, but they didn't impose education across the region.
Across the
You see, they kept it quite tightly controlled.
Definitely, yeah.
Because Uganda had their first school in 1895, Mengo. Then in 1900, then around the same time, 1900, Namilyango College comes. Then the royalties say we can't study with the common people. Then Budo is introduced. But at this point, Kenya doesn't have a school for the native, but has Prince of Wales. It has what became Nairobi School, Lenana, St. Mary's Nairobi.
Okay.
And then you see, for those were only white men's schools.
Yeah.
But now already in Uganda, you have 5 schools.
So these schools.
It's very
education,
important.
Yeah.
It's very important
How
because schools were the introduction to sport,
sport in the region.
In-
Modern sport.
to the Olympic sport. Because from 1895, when the Olympics happened, sport had changed all over the world. We now started following kind of
The
an
codes and
international sport was
codes
being
and
codified.
codified.
So you didn't want to play your neighbor every day. You wanted to play the other guy,
The
then
other
cross the
neighbor.
ocean and play the other guy. So it was also a necessity. But from 1895, when we started being forced into school, at least for the elite of this
The
country,
country. They
our
perceived
Kenyan
that
brothers,
were
no,
not-
it's, when you're given a square mile of land,
You
you've been given a 200-year head start. How many people do you know in France have a square mile of land?
Almost zero, I think. I don't know a single person.
That's why
in
you,
France.
but not that, but this aside, when we created that land tenure system, we had to teach people how to handle it.
Yeah,
land,
yeah.
have plantations on and
Yes, and so you had to spawn a level of thinking that required
so you
sophistication.
needed education.
So,
So-
no, the British didn't educate us.
Yeah.
They taught us to mimic them. We had to speak English like them. We had to do what they did because the people who came
and that is where
to
sports
administrate
comes in.
us.
And what role sports plays in challenging that authority? Because you're right, like all of this come from those schools, and it was a way to develop the new colonial man. You know, like that colonial mentality. Fela Kuti is speaking about this. How does those schools also offer, and how does sport also offer a chance for people here to challenge the authority of the settlers? Were there some football games, some rugby games, some wrestling game where Ugandans, Kenyans would fight their settlers to a point where they win? I'm speaking about that because we remember that just before independence, the first riots in Kinshasa, that was Belgium, Congo at the time, were made because they organized a game between Union Saint-Gilloise and a black team of Kinshasa football players. And the football players were about to win on the pitch, but the ref make the white team from Belgium win, which started riots all around the city, and the football team couldn't even go back to its hotel, right? So there were also, sports also offered this capacity to challenge the dominant order in that case. Were there such instances in East Africa that you can speak?
A lot, there were a lot, but that was first the armed forces, because armed forces were independent of the school system.
Okay.
So they ran their own kind of system where, because from forever, the Nubians and the Luo people have been offering as being martialized. They've been martialized, been made as people of the fight. So they were taken to the army. And out of boredom, they learned how the white man lived. And part of it was learning sports. But now, at that level, the main sports played, because remember, the school administrators always came from the British educated classes.
Yes.
Yeah? And then the military corps always came from the British non-officer corps, more like unranked NCOs, non-commissioned officers. So they taught them, if you're from Liverpool, you're going to teach people how you live in Liverpool. So you play football in Liverpool, you box in Liverpool, because that's the dominant thing people do in Liverpool. So you're going to teach the army. And so the army, early enough, had army and police. By then it was the Uganda Unified Forces.
Okay.
It wasn't yet. The police
Police and the
separated
army,
and the army separated after World War II. I think police just made 100 years. But before that, they existed as the Uganda, the King African Rifles, unified. So what happens is, the people who were in the martial kind were learning football, volleyball, boxing.
Rugby.
No.
Rugby not in
No.
the army.
Not
No,
yet.
never.
Oh.
Netball,
Yeah.
for their wives. It's something gentle to keep the ladies gentle.
Cricket.
Because no,
No.
it's, even in Britain at that point, farmhands were not allowed to play cricket. And if you're a man of considerables, if you earned your living doing domestic work or hard labor, you were not allowed to play rugby. So it was codified. So the British were importing their social systems onto us. Now, because our elite,
To the region.
the people who were in school here didn't have social legitimacy because they had been superimposed in 1900. They had to adapt to the British way of living
Correct. Yeah.
quicker than they could adapt to their way. So we forgot how to speak our languages. Yeah, because say an institution like Budo, it was more like a very glorified prison. Everyone was brought from every part of the country into this prison for 9 months a year. And it was called an education. So they were no longer Ugandans.
Yes.
They were
being assimilated.
Budo is for our viewers and listeners. Budo is where?
For Budo is the hill of royalty in Uganda.
You're here in Kampala. Eh?
No.
It's near Kampala.
Yeah,
Near Kampala.
Near Kampala. Namilyango, same thing. Mengo was a co-ed day school. Yeah. So there you can see there was no infiltration of sport. Up to today, all these schools have a very strong culture of sports.
Of practicing sports.
Yes.
Definitely. And you speak to us about that first game.
So, Budo,
Yeah.
all Budonians were the first to win. I say it because they're the first to win the Uganda Cup twice. Then in Zambia, who were older than them.
Football.
Yes, Uganda Cup football. In Zambia, who were older than them, were the first domestic team to be founded. Others were white boy teams that we've been lost to. There's Uganda Police. When police separated, there's Uganda Wildlife, Elgon Service, that's for wildlife. And there is Kilembe, Kasese, but that comes in the 50s. Yeah. So these teams were formed, one, by geography.
Okay.
But in that, when Uganda learned how to play, when the Kabaka left Budo, when the Kabaka Chwa left Budo, his first thing was to form the Masaza and Wika football.
He's believed to be the first FUFA president.
He is not believed, he is.
He is.
Yes.
The first FUFA president.
Yes. But it was a ceremonial role. Because at that point, they had stripped the Kabaka of any real power. So, sport develops according to your side of the town, or where your parents were born, and what socialization they include you to. Then the missionaries took over and introduced hospitals en masse and sports en masse to the country. Then the people who had associated with the educated people started mimicking their habits without necessarily acquiring an education. So that's how football spread fast.
Across the country.
Army, who were barracked at that time, also started getting out. And so
we started interacting.
We started playing. Yeah, then we started forming.
And that was happening all over the region, isn't it?
I'm speaking for Uganda at the moment, because in Kenya it was a different case. Much as the blacks were playing, they were not doing it openly. It was more like South Africa, because you will notice that the first man to play rugby in Kenya was Ugandan. Yeah, a certain Idi Amin, that who later on became president. The first black team in East Africa to play the Enterprise Cup was Kampala Rugby Club, which is black. So there was a level of enlightenment among the black.
Am I assuming right if I said that because there were more white settlers in Kenya, they tried to control the game, when here in Uganda they couldn't play the game?
It's because the way the Colonial project approached Uganda. It was not direct. They left the local structure of administration, then they started integrating into it, because no title was taken away. Even Kabalega, who was defeated, had an heir, had his son come after him.
Kenya was a settler colony that was supposed to host white people, when Uganda was more ruled by indirect rules that was supposed to be, according to British vocal, ruled by the local elite, which obviously, as you explained, they choose and they selected based on their weakness.
So, going away from that period,
independence.
Now we get sports teams of all kinds. Of course, football was widely spread across.
Football had infected the whole place, the whole world.
Football was number one sport in Uganda in 1960, right? When independence was made in 62, they were the first.
There is never a moment in this world where football hasn't been number two. It's never happened.
So, how do these other games then come in? Because you did say that in Britain, even cricket was a special class. In Uganda, if I told somebody I play cricket or I play rugby, they would be wow, or they would have a certain perception of you.
First of all, if in Uganda, when you say you play rugby, no one knows rugby. It's unfortunately up to today, Uganda have been one of the most successful countries in rugby on the continent, but we're not rugby mad because.
And like Madagascar.
No, I do understand the sentiment. Only a few are given that chance to play this game. And when they play it, they don't want to share it with others, because it's a marker of their social status.
Elite.
So we still have this kind of colonial idea that sport give athletes status, and that status should be kept as almost as a treasure.
It's not colonial, it's human.
It's human.
Okay.
We want to be better than the next human.
But to be better than someone in sport, you need to play, right?
Yeah.
If you don't allow the majority
there
of
is
people to
sort of
play,
But politics
exclusive-
means there is levels.
There.
There is a president, there is an MP, there is a local council. But we're all in the system. So sport is also, it's an identity
There are
of
those
how
who play
you
football,
interact.
Then those who play rugby, those who
but
play
there's still
cricket.
this idea that
golf,
some
then,
sport
yeah.
are for the elite. It's as you say, because here you speak of rugby because you know it a lot, but I know also you know about the role of golf in Kenyan elite. Golf make Kenyan elite. You cannot.
You
make
have
Kenyan
to stay
elite
at,
without
yeah, you have to stay at, even Kenyan elite, you start with rugby, then as you age into golf.
Your age in
Is it
golf.
like how it
Yeah.
works?
It's
Right?
ultimately.
So it's also shaped like status in
Yes.
society.
Yeah.
yes.
So-
And then you go and support your
So,
friends
so in East Africa,
who have horses.
In East Africa, in East Africa, sports sort of define social classes. The sport,
Not only it demands
it demands.
that definition.
That's very interesting. I wonder if it would be the same in other part of the continent. But getting
It
back
is.
maybe
It
to
does.
the-
I've been to South Africa.
Yeah.
When I say I play rugby, I'm treated as a good black man.
It's interesting. Like, I don't want to enter the rugby football conversation, but rugby always carries that ethos.
So we are going to go into post-independence.
But you see, you also have to look at the formation of sports clubs.
At colonial time, right?
Yes, during colonialism.
Yeah.
Because of the independence of Uganda, we started founding, because of the inter-independence of Uganda, we were running a parallel government. There was Ruchiko the other side, there was the Legco this side. Express Football Club is formed by Jolly Joe Chiwanuka.
Okay.
Jolly Joe Chiwanuka is, on record, the first Republican. He was the first man to say the Kavaka is not needed in Uganda, in Buganda, which was at that point almost
Very strange.
Very, very revolutionary. Very revolutionary.
So very revolutionary. So he got the royal red of Budo because Jolly Joe had been in Budo
Okay.
and a journalist and founded and used it as Express's color.
Okay.
Yes. And then Villa in the 70s came from a ban because Express was banned from,
competing.
they had beaten up the army team Simba. So
banned
they were
from-
banned from football. So the Villa, the Express faithful went
Went
and
and
wore royal blue.
Okay.
And then they named it in honor of the most dominant European team at that time,
Okay.
Aston Villa.
Aston Villa.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh,
So-
okay, that is when Aston
Yeah.
Villa is winning European.
Yes, so they became
But
SC Villa.
yeah, like Union Saint-Gilles was in Congo. We don't
Yes.
know about Union Saint-Gilles
So
today, but
that
they used to be
is
there.
so formation of social clubs. One, most teams were institutionally run. We had Maroons,
Maroons,
the
by
prison team.
prisons.
We had Uganda Police. We had Simba, who are the army team.
So they were
We had-
organized toward the institutions of the
organizations.
state,
Yes.
of the
The
state.
state.
and they were mainly urban, right? They were not.
Yes, they were
over-
urban.
They also
Yeah, yeah,
developed
yeah.
in
Whatever
the
urban, because
It was
urban we
urban.
mean Kilembe.
Yes.
Kilembe is a whole town on its own. It had its own sports team.
Yes.
Kakira is a whole plantation. It had its own sports team.
Okay.
Now Nile was helping out the ginger team.
Yes.
The rich ginger side. Nice.
Nile initially was owned by the Madivanis. But you see, they also had the Kakira plantation, but they're also finding Nile.
Nile.
Then East African Breweries feeling left out also formed Bell.
Oh,
Okay.
Then UEB also joined. They formed UEB, the team.
Okay.
Then Bank of Uganda also,
Also
not
had
filled
a team.
Yes. Even State House added their own team. So there was no communal formation of sports clubs. It was always the institution becoming rich.
But
But
that
it's
is, that
institutions
is why
that
the
make money,
that-
make wealth, would spend it towards.
Spend a trickle.
Yeah, spend it like this.
Yeah,
No,
It also happened, so like prisons, because 100% of prison warders were staying in the prison quarters,
Yeah.
they had to play sport.
Okay.
sport.
So they just formed teams within prison,
Interesting.
got funding from prison, then competed.
Your explanation, I think, explains why the community is now identifying
No, now that-
Manchester United
Aha.
and Arsenal.
Yes,
because
but
other teams
that
are
didn't
sort of-
happen in rugby.
Yeah.
Because in
Yeah.
rugby, there was no institute forming a team.
Yes.
So Old Boys, Kampala Old Boys, formed
Formed team.
black team. Then those who were based in Jinja
Okay.
formed.
Nile and
Yes.
One team.
Those who were based in Kilembe. Remember, the first initial elites of Uganda came from the same 5 schools.
yes.
Yeah.
So they were
Up to now, up to
they
now.
were spreading out,
Yes.
forming their own enclave.
Yes.
Yes, enclave community.
Yes.
Now, golf was a little bit different. When people grew older,
They would
they started pretending.
play golf.
What I found very interesting, and I know we will move forwards, but is how colonialism and at colonial time and post-colonial time, sports. Colonialism like reshape African society, you reorganize it. You can think about it as, I think about it as you take a glass, you put a fish in the middle and you just like
And
shake
shake,
like this.
yes.
It has to reform. It has to reform towards new status. It has to reform towards new positions. A lot of people were challenging old positions that were happening at the Kabaka time, but now a new system was in place. And the fact that sport was used as a tool to form this new elite, to structure these new classes and this new class system is really, really fascinating. It's a development that is
So-
highly fascinating.
But you see, in Uganda, a Ugandan team beating white men wouldn't cause concern. In Kenya,
It would.
It would be a big because
Because of how Kenya was structured.
Settler society were ruled by paranoia. Paranoia became the main fuel of settler
Yes.
society.
Kenya almost became an apartheid state. Like,
not almost.
it
It
was.
was.
You actually needed the pass to go to Nairobi as a
Independent.
black man.
Yeah, definitely. It was the
So-
second after apartheid.
We are going to take a break.